Welcome to the Numerology podcast. I'm your host, Novalee Wilder. I'm a professional numerologist and writer. And in this podcast, we're just going to nerd out, which means we're going to talk names, we're going to talk numbers, numerology, astrology, the connections between the different esoteric fields. We'll do case studies and so much more. Today's episode is a case study on Quincy Jones. I watched the new Netflix documentary Quincy the other day, and I had to look up Q's names and birthday as I was watching. And yes, he is known as Q, so that's why I'm using that pet name in this case study. It's always interesting to look at a famous and accomplished person through numerology, since so many facets of their essence are captured in the public eye. That's the fancy way of saying I geeked out a bit while calculating his name vibrations and looking at his life. I'm sharing this little numerology case study to help you see just how much we're shaped by not only our birthday, but by the name vibrations we carry. Of course, there's always so much more to say about someone that I could cover here, and out of respect for people's privacy, there are things I won't discuss or disclose in a public setting, even if the numbers point to it clearly. So Quincy Jones is having a moment in the spotlight, which in and of itself is not surprising because he has had a whole lot of moments in his career that spans 7 decades. That's a lot. A composer, artist, arranger, conductor, instrumentalist, record company executive, magazine founder, multimedia entrepreneur, humanitarian, investor, and record film and TV producer. As a master inventor of musical hybrids, he has shuffled pop, soul, hip-hop, jazz, classical, African, and Brazilian music into many dazzling fusions, traversing virtually every medium, including records, live performance, movies, and television. Even if you somehow never heard of him, you've definitely encountered his work. From Leslie Gore's 60s anthem, You Don't Own Me, to the theme song from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, a show he also produced. He has scored more than 25 movies, including The Color Purple, produced Michael Jackson's first 3 albums, Off the Wall, Thriller, and Bad. He has arranged and conducted for Frank Sinatra, Ray Charles, Aretha Franklin, Celine Dion, and many more. So his influence has really shaped and created the sound that we connect with many of the great entertainers in the last 6 decades. Yeah, it's a lot, right? So Quincy D. Light Jones Jr. was born March 14th, 1933 on the south side of Chicago. When we look purely at his essence, and that's his birthday, the information we get is this: 14. 1 plus 4 is 5. Q's first base number is 5. March, that's the 3rd month, and within the sun sign of Pisces. 1933, 1 plus 9 plus 3 is 16. 1 plus 6 is 7. So Q's second or yearly base number is 7. Now there are 9 base numbers, each one with specific gifts, challenges, and life goals. In numerology, we use the digit sum of larger numbers, unless we're talking about name vibrations, karmic lessons, and/or life themes. If you want to learn more about base numbers and yourself, you should go to NovaleeWilder.com and sign up for my newsletter, and then you'll get instant access to the free ebook, Your Numerological Essence, that I wrote just for you. So, let's get back to Quincy. He is a 5 and a 7. Which tells us he was born to connect the dots, to communicate and translate the world he saw in front and inside of himself into a new image. 5s are born with a special mix of curiosity, adaptability, and business savvy. They have a traveling spirit that loves talking, language, connection, exploring, exchanging worldviews, meeting new people. Yeah, they're experts in conveying a viewpoint or idea in multiple ways, and they should never limit themselves to one field or one way of expressing themselves. 7s are artistic souls with an intuitive and fiercely independent spirit. They belong and feel at home everywhere and nowhere all at once. They're born with a strong connection to the unseen world, and they often live half their lives in this world, and the other half off in some daydream or creative frenzy. So being a Pisces amplifies this trait in Q, as the sevens are also connected to Neptune and the sun sign of Pisces. So he's definitely here to bring us a bit of this otherworldly creative vision. Based on Q's essence, it seems natural that his creative and artistic side would bring him into contact with an enormous amount of people. For a 5, it can seem like no amount of social life or connections are too much, like the party never ends. They recharge by being around uplifting people, and they adapt readily to the situations and activities around them. They also have a blast dealing with larger groups, fans, audiences, colleagues, which makes so much sense when you see how Quincy worked, like few others, with large orchestras, arranging and conducting both his own and other people's material with ease and lack of ego. More people equals more fun. When you see him flying around the world in his 80s, presenting and receiving awards, mentoring young musicians, collaborating with brands, and still building his empire, it's with the joy of a kid that gets to do what they love. The talking, connecting with, and experiencing the world through the mediums of music and business, and from many different angles within each field, is right up his alley. The seed of Quincy's genius with music is certainly visible in his essence and is being supported by his names. Sevens have the gift of synergy. That's the ability to create something that grows beyond the sum of its parts. And that's definitely what happened when he produced Michael Jackson's first 3 albums, also the live recordings with Miles Davis, and many other collaborations. When looking at Q's numeroscope, meaning how his names and essence interacts, it gets clear that Quincy was always a very, very hard worker. Quincy has 18-9 as a life theme, and you don't need to know how I get all these numbers, but if you're interested, you should pick up my book, A Little Bit of Numerology, because then you will know how to calculate a numeroscope and how I'm getting these numbers. So he has 18-9 as a life theme, and this means that the day starts and ends with a very straightforward, unwavering dedication to putting in the work. He is also both consciously and subconsciously very aware of this drive. Both fame and being famous for dedication for the work is apparent in the 17-8 vibrations that appear twice in his numeroscope. So knowing that the spotlight will find you as long as you keep doing your thing to the best of your ability is what this name vibration calls in. Now, normally I would go through the chart, but I think it's just easier to jump straight to the actual outcome of it. The calculation for the name Quincy D-Light Jones looks like this. Quincy becomes 17-8. D-Light or Delight becomes 25-7, and Jones becomes 21-3. So his name vibrations are 17-8, 25-7, and 21-3. And this means that Quincy has a full house when it comes to name vibrations that make you the celebrated master in your field. They also tells us that his childhood probably demanded that he grew up fast and asked him to behave, think, and act way beyond his years. There is a quiet brilliance that reveals how our names provide us with the filters we need to survive our family constellations and upbringing. In Quincy's case, the gentleness of his essence does not conjure this image of a warrior or someone who will be willing to tough it out no matter what. But his numeroscopes brings these traits to the table. He has name vibrations that show us that responsibility and victim mentality has been themes he has had to work on, while the interactions of his essence with his names show us a deep passion for his craft and an almost supernatural ability to make it back from the depths of despair or extreme challenges. It also shows an appetite for life that could lead to infidelity and getting caught up in the fear of missing out. and the spectrum of complete lack of responsibility in some areas to extreme sense of duty and dedication on another day is in play. And I really think you should watch Quincy, because all of what I'm describing here is so well shown in a very loving way in that documentary. So I just want to share that I'm not sharing anything that is not visible for us all to see. I hope I'm not breaking anyone's sense of privacy. While there seems to be a never-ending supply of power and challenge in his numeroscope, there is also a theme about subliminating anger and other heavier emotions into work. His work both saves him from hitting bottom, yet is the thing that drives him over the edge. So turning off and slowing down doesn't feel like an option, and he can keep going when others quit or simply need to sleep. While numeroscopes can't predict the future or health in the most specific terms, they do give us pointers to the issues that could arise. The biggest health issue for Q connects to his head, his heart, and his blood. And looking at Q's health history, he has had 2 brain aneurysms and at least 1 blood clot. And he should really make a point of scheduling time off with regular intervals and take care of his body. Quality over quantity is the mantra that all 5s should employ in their projects and plans. While the muse seems elusive, she is always available to the 7 that takes time to tune out the world and listen within. Now, I'm not going to dive into all the karmic lessons that Q is here to master, since my nerding out would make this a very long episode. We'll just look at the 14 that make up Q's first base number. That's the 5. The karmic lesson of 14.5 tells us that there's a real hands-on approach to money, the business side of things, and the importance of using and expressing your own unique point of view and voice as a means to move forward in the world. This lesson is to speak up, not just for others, but also for your own sake. There is power in hearing our own sound in the cacophony of other people's demands and needs. So Quincy Jones has a numerological setup for the ages. He has spent his life filling the void within and around himself with the sound of tomorrow, blessing us in the process while creating a legacy that will remain beyond his lifetime. A promise that the name vibration 17.8 enforces. Now, of course, there's always a lot more to say about any beautiful soul and their essence and names and numeroscope and so on. So much more to dig into. But I've decided to share about this since he's already shared his own point of view on his life with this world. I really recommend the documentary Quincy if you like to peek behind the curtain of music history and see someone with the base numbers 5 and 7 doing their thing. And a little fun fact, Rashida Jones, who is one of the directors and writers of Quincy and is Q's daughter, is a 7 and a 5 and a Pisces 2. So her essence is almost a mirror of Q's, and he's even given her one of his own name vibrations, like beyond his last name, as Rashida is a 17.8 name too. It's very common for parents to choose name vibrations for their children that are an exact match to their own. We're attracted to and pass on what we know and how we've been challenged by ourselves. Now, if you want to know what numerology can reveal about you, I have the appetizer session on my site or the full reading, and that will tell you everything you need to know about how your name is influencing and impacting your life and help you get the light inside of you showing up even more in the world. Now, if you like this episode of the Numerology podcast, please help me by sharing, reviewing, and subscribing to it. And if you'd like more of this, please let me know at hello@novaleewilder.com. I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear what you would like more of in the Numerology podcast, what kind of episodes you like, if you'd like them longer, if you have any case studies I should do, just let me know. And if you want to support the show, there is an opportunity to click on support the show in the show notes and donate a cup of coffee to me for when I sit and make these episodes for you. I will see you in the next one.